Special council meeting of the municipality of North Perth. This is our second budget meeting of the year of 6 proposed budget meetings. Thank you for your attendance tonight, not only to members of council, but also to staff. And a special thank you to staff of Fran, Chris, and especially Becky for all the work that they've put into it. And we got a bunch of our department heads tonight that are going to be sharing some of their proposed projects with you. Also, thank you to Vice Chair Rothwell for his help along the way to get us this far along. So we will be, we have an amendment to our agenda tonight that has, we have an amendment of a report from David Gundrum on the draft plan of condominium by HBC on behalf of Terra Park that we are going to move in at agenda 4.6. I would be, could I ask, is there any other amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, could I ask for Councillor Andreessen, would you move the agenda as amended be approved?
Yes, I'll make that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Behrens, would you second that?
Yes, I will second that motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All those, if anyone is opposed, please put it into the chat function right now, as we're not using eScribe tonight. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody in the chat function. We will take that agenda as amended, be approved. I will now be looking for disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Councillor Behrens.
Thank you, Chair Johnston. I would declare a conflict of pecuniary interest on item 4.2, childcare services specifically, and 13.1, as I have grandchildren attending the North Perth Spinrite Child and Family Center and the St. Mary's Daycare and After School Services. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Behrens. Councillor Anstead.
Thanks, Chair Johnson. Similar to Councillor Behrens, I will be declaring a conflict or disclosure of pecuniary interest on item 4.2, the daycare, as again, I have my son attends the St. Mary's Daycare, and also on item 13.1, the confirmatory, or sorry, 7.1, the confirmatory bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any others? Okay, then we'll move on to the consent agenda. Only one item on the consent agenda, which is our minutes from the October 6th, 2021 budget visioning session. Could I ask Councillor Anstead to move those?
Yes, I would move that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Duncan, would you second that?
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Anyone opposed, please enter it in the chat function. Pat, I'm not seeing any, so that is carried. Now there is no delegations tonight. We are going to move into, if it's okay with council, I would like to move item 4.6, which was our addition to the agenda. If we could move it up to the start, and that would then we could deal with it right off the bat and then get into the budget. If anyone has a problem with that, please put that into the chat function. Seeing none, then we will carry on. I will ask David Gundrum, the planner and land division secretary for the County of Perth, to present his report, please.
Thank you, Chair Johnston. Chair, members of North Perth Council, good evening, and thank you for allowing us to bring forward this planning application at this point in time. The subject property and the retirement residence development have been before you for both zoning and site plan approvals. The owner of the development is now proposing to apply for a description of condominium for condominium tenure to a portion of the development via the draft plan of condominium process. The application as proposed might have otherwise been a candidate for an exemption to the draft plan approval given the other land use planning approvals and public consultation processes that have already occurred. However, the option of applying for an exemption is not yet a formalized process in the County of Perth and would require development of a set of criteria to evaluate exemption potential. As we don't yet have such a process for the development community as described in Perth County, and in the absence of that process, we are attempting to accommodate, where possible, the timeline of the developer and the development. It is therefore appreciated that we could work together with North Perth Council and North Perth staff to that end, and why we are before you tonight. The applicants, on behalf of the property owners, are seeking to develop a portion of a proposed residential retirement residence under a plan of condominium. The development proposes a 3-story building which would contain 84 dwelling units, of which 18 of these units through this application are proposed to be registered under a plan of condominium description. The residence is intended to be geared towards senior citizens and will provide on-site supportive and lifestyle services for residents. The property fronts onto Nelson Avenue South, as well as Havelock Avenue South in the town of Listowel. The property is described as part of Block 39 on Plan 44M-10 and is designated as residential in the Listowel Ward official plan and is zoned as Residential Zone 6, R6 in the North Perth zoning bylaw. The development provides for growth and development in the community on existing municipal infrastructure and land which has been previously designated to accommodate new urban growth. The draft plan of condominium would contribute to a range of housing types and diversified housing tenure options for senior citizens, thereby helping to satisfy housing demand in the town of Listowel. The development is consistent with the provincial policy statement directives of planning authorities to provide for an appropriate range and mix of housing options and densities to meet projected market-based and affordable housing needs of current and future residents of the regional market area by permitting and facilitating all housing options required to meet the social, health, economic, and well-being requirements of both current and future residents, including special needs requirements. The PPS defines special needs to mean, among other things, any housing, including dedicated facilities, in whole or in part, that are to be used by people who have specific needs beyond economic needs, including, among other categories of resident, housing for older persons. The details and merits of the proposed plan of condominium have been evaluated against a set of criteria which are provided under Section 51, Sub 24 of the Planning Act. The proposed plan of condominium has been found to meet or satisfy all criteria under this section of the Planning Act as they apply. A notice of the application for draft plan of condominium was circulated as per the Planning Act, and no public meeting is required for this type of condominium under the Planning Act. The request to permit a condominium description for a portion of the proposed dwelling units on the site represents a preferred form of tenure on the part of the developers to ensure future success for the development. The proposed development of the subject lands did receive site plan approval from the municipality of North Perth on November 19th, 2018, with appropriate zoning having also been both considered and adopted by North Perth Council to permit the proposed form of development on the subject lands. The proposed draft plan of condominium conforms to the relevant policies of the County of Perth official plan, the Listowel Ward official plan, and are consistent with the provincial policy statement 2020. The preceding comments and report have been provided for Council's consideration to recommend provide a recommendation to County Council for the proposed plan of condominium. County planning staff are recommending that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth receive our report concerning file NP 2003 for information, and that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth recommend to the Council of the County of Perth that the application for draft plan of condominium submitted by MHBC Planning Limited on behalf of Terra Park Developments Limited, file NP 20-03, be approved. Thank you for your time, members of council, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have concerning the report and the development. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And it's good to get this report in front of us. Is there anyone with, we'll open it up to questions first. Not seeing any questions at this point. Is there any comments from anyone? If nothing, then I have any, I'll be looking for a mover and a seconder. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth received the report entitled Application for Draft Plan of Condominium by MHBC Planning Limited, Pierre Chauvin, on behalf of Terra Park Developments Limited for information. And that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth recommend to the Council of the County of North Perth that the application for draft plan of condominium by MHBC on behalf of Terra Park Developments Limited for property described as part of Block 39 Plan 44M-10 Part 1 on 44R to 5485 Listowel Ward, Municipality of North Perth, Havelock Avenue, South Listowel, be approved. Could I ask Deputy Mayor Kellum to move that?
Yes, I will move that motion.
Thank you. And would Councillor Richardson second that?
I will second that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions or debate on that motion that's been read, item 4.6? Seeing none, then if I'm going to assume everyone is in favor, if you would wish to vote opposed, please put it in the chat function. Seeing none, Pat, we're going to call that carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, David, for your presentation.
Thank you, Chair Johnson, and have a good evening, members of council. Thank you.
If you wish to stay for our exciting budget conversations, you are more than welcome, David.
Well, thank you, Chair Johnson. Appreciate it.
We will now move on to item 4.1, which in your budget ebook is tab number 1, the capital projects ranking sheet. And I believe CAO Snell is going to explain this. This is something new that Becky Becky and Fran worked on this year to get all the capital projects ranked for us on what staff have debated, and it doesn't just go by ranking by department. This is ranking for the whole budget process this year. So Chris, if I can turn it over to you to kind of explain the capital projects ranking sheet, please.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Since the visioning session, staff have been busy finishing the department business plans as part of the ongoing implementation of the approved strategic plan. These plans will be presented to council at the next regular council meeting. The draft business plans clearly demonstrate that the municipality does not have sufficient staff resources to implement year 1 of the council approved strategic priorities. So based on those findings and based on the council discussions from the first budget meeting, staff have implemented a 2-pronged response to addressing the issues. The first is the establishment of a list of non-legislated services and associated infrastructure that could be implemented or be brought in to reduce the operational budget. Risk mitigation factors have been part of this consideration, and this will be presented to council at the first operating budget session. All proposed ideas will result in a service level reduction to the community. Secondly, all the projects have been ranked by departments to assist in establishing a priority list for council's consideration. The cumulative list was reviewed by the senior management team with some minor adjustments being made. As mentioned by the chairperson, Becky was instrumental in assisting the departments with this. So the ranking system, as you can see, was based on a ranking system and scoring method. out of 100 with safety of public risk, fits with the strategic plan, has existing asset or existing condition issues, environmental or economic impact or cost payback, prior commitment of council, lack of physical capacity, and monitored complaints by staff and council. So each department was asked to rank their projects based on those criteria, and then we as a group met with them and just prioritize that sheet with making a few minor adjustments on the overall ranking of the systems. As we said, this was hopeful and helpful to council in making any decisions they believe is necessary. Staff certainly recognize the current economic uncertainty and financial struggles of some of our citizens due to the COVID-19, but COVID-19 has not reduced our current workload. Economic development and land use planning has ever been busier, plus special projects like transit, housing, rural broadband are either more complex or urgent in the current climate. Other significant and strategic projects vital to the future of our community are proceeding, but often without the appropriate resources or dedication of time. Examples of this will be the strategic plan and the County of Perth official plan. Keeping all services equal to previous years will likely require a budget increase just due to inflationary factors alone. And depending on assessment growth may result in a tax levy increase. Staff will continue to operate as lean as possible and be fiscally responsible to whatever service levels council deem appropriate for the community's best interests for the short and long-term benefits of North Perth. Thank you, and I'll turn it back to you, Chair Johnson.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. I hope that helped everyone to understand the ranking sheets and the ranking of the projects. Is there any questions with the ranking? Councillor Behrens.
Thank you, Chair Johnston. Just a question with regards, Chris, to the prior commitment of council. And there's a lot of different numbers there. And I'm just wondering, I didn't quite understand how the ranking, like, to me, that seems pretty simple. Either there's a motion passed to investigate or to proceed, or there isn't. So I'm just wondering, like, there's a wide range in numbers. Is there an easy way to explain how some of them, rate a 1 and other ones, like a 10, I can understand, but like a 7 or 8? That's my question. Thank you.
Chris?
I can try to explain this and maybe even Becky can help me, but this certainly was a result of every department head doing their individual ranking in the first place. And I think everybody interpreted the ranking numbers just a little bit differently. And maybe that's an improvement we could make, because maybe you're right, Julie, maybe there's either it's previously committed to in an official motion, which would be a full 10 ranking, or there's been some previous discussions with might give it a 5, and then if it hasn't been considered at all, it might get a 0. But that's maybe something we can improve on next time around.
Councillor Behrens, a follow-up?
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I think that's when I read that particular column, I was quite confused. Like, I can understand, a 10 if there's a motion on the floor, a 5 if we've, done some legwork and, where it's engineering for a bridge or whatever, that I can understand. But it's just like, I don't, if it truly is a prior commitment of council, like if it's part of a bigger plan or part of a bigger project that we're going to do, I get that. And, it could rate somewhere too. But to have it all over the map, some of these we may not have seen. So it's hard to figure out how they can have a higher rating if we haven't seen them yet. How could it be a prior commitment of council? So I think, Chris, your comment is well taken that, yeah, you need to kind of come together on that a wee bit more. It shouldn't be hard, but I'll leave you to decipher that.
So just an additional comment, maybe Becky, we can maybe just even update that column in previous things back to council.
Sure, we can do that.
Yep, very good. Very good. Thanks, Julie, for the comments, and thank you, Chris and Becky. One thing I don't want to firstly, is there any more questions about the ranking, Chris's explanation of the ranking sheets? While we're waiting, if anyone has a comment, tonight we are not here to debate the ranking order. I think we should wait until the next meeting, which is not that far away, which we're looking December the 9th, when we will hear the rest. Tonight we're hearing 4 department heads. The next meeting we will have another 4. And I think we should wait to debate the ranking of all the projects and the order until we have heard from everyone, so that it's you know, we've been through all the projects to hear that. So if council's okay with that, tonight when we hear from Chris, Pat, Fran, and Amy, we can question by all means the projects and the need for a project or whatever, but I don't think we should question the ranking on the whole sheet until we get through our next meeting. If that sounds okay to council, that's the way I would like to proceed with this. Any more questions or comments about the ranking sheet? Once again, it's been put through. Chris, Fran, and Becky, and all the department heads have been all through this. I don't want to know how many times, but I'm betting it's more than 2 or 3. If I don't see anything, then we're going to move on to 4.2, general administration, and we will keep it in Chris's park right here. So Chris, go ahead, please.
Thank you again, Chairperson Johnson. So the 4 projects that were completed in the administration last year were the signage revitalization project, the intranet or the WIN update, the public transit system, and the administrative processes efficiency review. As just a slight plug here, the public transit system's official launch was yesterday as far as the official opening, and that went very well. And just would love to encourage everyone to spread the word about the transit system and encourage people to use it. I think offers a great opportunity for our community. Moving on to the projects that will be carried over will be the Northeast Master Plan, which will mostly move to a public works project, but any planning activities will still be carried out under the administration budget. The community-wide greenhouse gas emission reduction plan, which will be, you'll be seeing some public engagement on that in the very near future with completion in February of 2021. The pay compensation review, which we've seen parts of that completed, but we still are awaiting the council and fire department. The community safety and well-being plan is a project that was to be completed by December 31st of this year, but due to COVID has been deferred until 2021. Red, the facade improvement program is ongoing and will be completed next year, as well as the Elma Logan Development Social Space has been delayed because of COVID. The new projects for 2021 will be the council dashboard, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. The organizational review, which council is also very well aware of, and then a couple of HR strategic and retention plans as part of that, which will be culture audit and change management training, which will also complement and help and assist with the organizational review. Part of that is as a result of the employment and staff engagement survey, as well as just the change management, just with everything going on with the effects of COVID and the organizational review, and even the amount of staff that we expect to turn over in the next couple years. We feel it's important that we give staff the tools and resources to successfully manage this change. So I'm happy to answer any questions council may have of the projects.
Great, thank you, Chris. And I hope everyone is able to follow along on QuickBooks if they have a second screen or an iPad that they're following along on. I hope it's, I know it's 191 pages, but I hope everyone's able to follow along. Is there any questions or comments for Chris's projects that he has presented? Boy, Chris, you really quieted everybody down. And I'm not a big fan of this Chairperson Johnson name. If we could just call me Dave, I'm much more comfortable being called that than whatever else you guys are using. Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you.
Question for CEO Chris. Can you just talk more specifically in the project detail sheet about oh, let me get to the right page here. It was on the organizational review, I believe. No, pardon me, it's the next one. HR strategy, is that the one? Just yes, the HR strategy and retention plan. In the details, there's only mention of the $5,000 approximately for the change management training. But then when we look at the consulting project specifically, we are at 40,000. So just like I know there's plenty of work there, but I don't know where the other $35,000 is proposed to be spent in there. Could you answer that? Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Dave.
Yes.
Yeah. The rest of that is actually around the cultural audit, and we just have reached out to a number of municipalities because we will be requiring an RFP, and the prices do vary quite significantly on the culture audit, and depending on how many departments are done and the number of people involved. But in speaking with some municipalities in Wellington and a couple of municipalities in Brant, or actually it was the municipality of Brant, who have done some of this work recently, that's where we've come up with the price of the $35,000 for that project.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Chris. Any other questions for Chris? Very good. Thank you for your report, Chris, and all your work into getting this budget off the ground. We will move on to 4.3, clerk, building and child care services. And I think we are going to get a virtual tour of some of the new child care services we have. So I'll turn it over to Pat. Thank you, Pat.
Good evening, Council. As noted, and the fact that there are no sheets or information for the Clerk's Department or the Building Department, we did not have any capital projects in 2020, and we are not planning for anything in the year 2021. So then moving forward into the childcare services, which for Council's information, that is the new title for childcare in North Perth. And the childcare services then encompasses 3 new daycare centers and the early on programs. So in 2020, the North Perth Spinrite site has depleted the 2019 health and safety funds that were a carryover, as well as most of the 2020 health and safety dollars that were provided to them through the consolidated service manager. As noted in my report, items such as providing a sheltered play area for the infant toddlers in their program, and numerous items were purchased to update the equipment and furnishings within the North Perth Spinrite site. As well, an annual $5,000 donation as part of our previous agreement was provided for the Spinrite site. And as noted, outdoor learning equipment, as well as the staff have been working on replacing furnishings in their staff room. As noted in the report, our highlight for 2020 was certainly the construction and the setup of our new family grouping childcare in Moncton, as well as the setup and implementation of our new childcare at St. Mary's Catholic School. Despite the pandemic, These were very positive collaborative efforts working with the City of Stratford, as well as the North Perth Library staff, Elma Logan Recreation staff, and the Huron Perth Catholic School Board. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, staff have been unable to complete some of the renovations to the entranceway of the North Perth Spinrite Child and Family Center. This again was a carryover, but unfortunately, early on staff have not actually been on site since March. So this will not once again be a carryover for 2021. As far as moving forward for 2021 in regards to other projects, the North Perth Spinrite Center will work on the entranceway with the early on staff. That will be a continued project, as well as the City of Stratford provided to the St. Mary's site funds to set up an early on program there as well. Again, due to the fact that staff have been unable to work on those programs due to the COVID, we will be planning and implementing all of that in hopefully the spring of 2021. It's a big hope. So those are the projects moving forward for 2021. But due to the fact that North Perth Council and other staff have been unable to visit or even celebrate in our opening of our centers, I have not able to do. I have not been able to do an actual virtual, but I do have some photographs that I would like to share tonight. Fortunately, I did not have this ready until this afternoon, so it was not part of the package or the presentation that was prepared by staff. But in working first with the Elma Logan site, now called the Moncton Childcare Center, next to the new North Perth Library. I'm not going to speak tonight a lot about the library because I want to leave that for Rebecca. That's her fun. But just letting council know, and I did share a lot of this information with the Elma Logan Park and Recreation Committee a few weeks ago, that as part of the project, we've been very fortunate to stay on track and actually have able to come in under budget. But some unknowns did come up as far as moving forward with that construction. And right off the bat, due to the fact that we were putting the addition onto the Elma Logan, it was identified that the septic system in Moncton was not going to be able to satisfy what was going to be required with the addition. So a brand new septic system was put in for the new daycare and the library, as well as part of the fire requirements and to meet the requirements of the fire chief and not having to go forward with sprinklers in the new addition. An extended lane was required as far as the fire route was concerned. That also was part of the project and paid through this capital project. In addition, because of the proximity to the front door to the new community rooms at the Elma Logan, a drop-down fire curtain was also provided, and that's now providing a firewall between the two new buildings. And then as we move forward and trying to satisfy all the requirements to occupy the building and obtain a license from the Ministry of Education, it was identified that we had some concerns with the water coming into the Elma Logan arena. And once it was tested by Ministry of the Environment, it was identified that a new UV ray system was also required. So a decision was made that we purchased 2 new UV ray systems. That way we would always have one workable system, hopefully always having a backup. And the last thing that came up that was not necessarily planned on, but ended up being part of the project and paid through the project was new doors that are now between the arena and the new addition. We did have some temporary doors there, and it was identified that if the entire building is going to work together and that staff from both ends are going to be able to supervise what's happening now, as earlier stated in CEO Chris's report, our new social space, it was important that we had better visibility. So a new set of doors was also provided there. So just letting council know that there were some surprises, but we were very fortunate to be able to stay within the budget. So moving forward, and I'm not going to take you through all the construction pictures again because I have shown those before, but just letting people know what it does look like inside the Moncton Child Care Center. And this is our infant sleep room and our little cribs. These are the cubbies that along the corridor, entering into the childcare portion. This is the playroom. And as you remember, this is family grouping. So we have one playroom that occupies the infants up to the preschoolers. Then we have our early on program, and the early on program is sharing with our before and after school program as well. And this is working out extremely well. And buses are able to pull into the Moncton Arena, pick up the children quite safely. And I think parents are very happy with this new arrangement. And of course, we have a servery and we have a laundry room. And at last, we have our finished playground, which we're very proud of. Just one comment I'm going to make at this time. We have a licensed playground. It actually accommodates more than 15 children. But in North Perth, staff have been quite accustomed to a large play space. Even though this meets requirements, our hope in 2021 is to actually enlarge the playground, and we're going to set aside some monies that we're going to be able to extend the fencing and provide a little bit more green space. Number one, because it's there and because the municipality owns it, I think it only makes sense. And I think that staff-wise and even for the children, we'll be happy with just a little bit more green space, but not saying that we're not very happy with what we have today. And that's our entranceway to the Child Care Center and our existing full-time staff. Moving now over to St. Mary's. This is the front, and I'm sure if anyone that's drove by, this is our new addition. And if you can sort of follow my cursor, this is the entranceway into the Child Care Center. To your right, there were 2 new additional classrooms provided as part of this construction as well. One is a kindergarten classroom and I believe a primary. Then moving, of course, then to the south and your left is the Child Care Center. This particular set of windows is for the office. This is our family grouping room, very similar to what we have in Moncton. And then here facing the parking lot is the early on room. Then on the other side of the building or towards the west is where we have our toddler, our infant, and our preschool classrooms. So just so that you can have a little look inside, this is our infant room. And of course, over here is the room where we have our cribs and our sleep room. This is the toddler room. This is the preschool room. And some of these little faces may be familiar, but as you can see, they're very busy and very happy. And some more very busy children. Again, should be some familiar faces to some of council. And this is the playground for this St. Mary's program. And again, we have a divided playground similar to what we have at the Spinrite Center. One side we have for the toddlers and the preschoolers, and on the other side we have a playground for the infants and toddlers, and the other one is for the preschoolers. And both playgrounds were done by the same company. And just one more look at our playgrounds, and a little fella very happy playing there. So this is a photo actually that I shared with staff a few weeks ago. But this is so far my favorite COVID-19 2020 picture, if we're going to have one. But this, due to, of course, all the policies and protocols, children are not allowed to bring too many things, too many of their belongings from home. And that's for the safety of the other children. So if you do bring something in, such as a comfort toy, and this is actually Watson's 4th Foxy, it has to stay in a container that then can be cleaned and sanitized at the end of the day. So as you see there that the fox obviously needed a hug, and Watson's helping him out. And that's the best way that he could hold. Anyways, my favorite. So just giving council an opportunity to see what it looks like inside. I have contacted our MPP, Pettipies, and hoping that as soon as possible, we will have official openings to both of our centers, and council will have an opportunity to have a much better look inside. So that I'd be happy to answer any questions if anyone has some for me.
Thank you very much, Pat. And I'm lucky enough to be sitting in council chambers tonight. I'm actually in the mayor's chair. But Pat and I are the only ones in council chambers, and so not everybody else can see the pride and joy that Pat has in presenting these pictures to us, council. It is definitely something that she loves to do, and what a great thing it is that we have these two new centers, and what great timing it is for us. So is there any questions on Pat's presentation? I think, Pat, they're all worried about their little fox in the little bin yet. So no questions for Pat. Then up next is going to be item 4.4, tab 4 in your flip books, the Finance and IT Department. Fran Hale, you're on, please.
Thanks very much, Dave. As council is aware, the finance department is very excited in 2020 to have selected a budgeting software package that council has endorsed. And as part of our operations in, excuse me, in 2020, Becky will be working hard to implement that in conjunction with all the department heads to make sure that we have something for council that is flexible and understandable and multi-year as per the legislative requirements that the finance department will be trying to achieve during that time frame, so that your 2022 budget and presentation will be a lot more suitable to council's needs, the public's needs, and staff's needs. So looking forward to that all happening. As you know, we did a background study for development charges in 2019, and there has been some legislative changes that we'd like to update in 2021. And we'll be bringing that back for council consideration. Of course, we'll maybe take the opportunity at time to see if there's any other projects that should be included or deleted from what we have included in that background study. As I have mentioned in the past, our payroll solution has got some issues with regard to how it can be audited, and therefore we have some concerns with security. And our auditors have been very patient with us, knowing that we had just recently implemented a new software package a couple years ago. At this time, we'd also like to look at the HR. Jen has made an indication that it would be nice to take a couple of different of our applications and have something that is completely integrated. We did look at it last time, but it seemed a little cumbersome. But this time we are really prepared to see that the integration would save some time in onboarding and appraisals, payments. We have a lot of different pay types, different types of employees, from counselors to board members to hourly to salary, even though we bring it back to hourly. So it's a little more complicated than your average package. And we are going to have our external auditors, which are currently BDO, work with us so that we make sure that we cover off all of their requirements, as well as for payroll, so that we won't find ourselves in this situation again. In consideration of current legislation, Council has established an asset management policy, and so we are continuing to make sure that our assets are complete. We're doing levels of service audit to make sure that they're on track, and taking steps forward with all of our departments to make sure that our assets are accounted for and documented and valued such that we can have a plan moving forward, that we have the funds available to replace them and identify when they need to be replaced. As 2020 is completed, our IT department has had an extremely busy year with additional units being added to their maintenance requirements. A lot of new technology that has been extremely beneficial to staff and being able to work from home. We have Jabber and WebEx capabilities, which Council has been utilizing, and hopefully we'll be able to have a hybrid solution so that we'll still be able to maintain some remote access by staff, dependent on Council's policies that for procedure that they come up with for that use. We also in 2020 established our IT governance group, having a member from each of the various functions and services in the municipality collectively working together on trying to have solutions with our technology that make us work more efficiently, effectively, and keep up to date with what the public, what council, et cetera, require. The new norm is to be much more advanced and connected, and we certainly feel that we've been making a lot of headway in a short period of time. It's amazing what need does for you. The water tower situation at the present time is really tight and not a very friendly location for some of our equipment. We also rent out space to other commercial uses, and in conversation with environmental services, they also use that area for storage, and it's not very roomy, and probably some related health and safety issues with that regard that would have to be addressed. But we hope to have a good look at what we can do to relocate that equipment to a more friendly environment, and that provides a safe place for the environmental services staff to work as well as IT. And hopefully in collaboration with our commercial users, we might be able to also have some funding or rent that will help cover some of those costs to enable a better space for that usage. And that is our review of 2020 and our outlook for 2021.
Thank you, Fran. I'm opening the floor to questions for Fran and her report tonight. Councillor Richardson.
Thanks, Dave. Just a question about the H-roll and the payroll software, and I know I've beleaguered this point before. Has every solution tried to be obtained, seeing as how the software that we currently have now is only 3 years old, and then all of a sudden now we're going to be having a significant new expenditure for that? Has every, excuse me, has basically every possible avenue been traveled in order to try and resolve the issues that we have with our current carrier?
yes, I believe it has been at this point in time. And I do want to point out that the dollar amount that you've been provided is a high estimate. We have done some legwork. We've looked at the package that Bruce County has had. We've looked at a number of different packages, and we've also not only just looked at packages, we've looked at services. A lot of people, as you know, are paid by Meridian or ADP. And so we're not really anticipating that the cost will be that as significant as we put the budget out for, but we don't want to have to come back at a later date and ask for a bigger budget if the solution is that. What we're finding too, and it was done through the building software that you just approved and the budgeting software, is the vendors are coming back to us, and instead of doing an upfront big cost, what they're doing is they're spreading it out over time with their annual amounts. So I've given you a bigger figure. I've just kind of been maintaining that from the past, but I'm anticipating that it'll be a much more reasonable amount. And I do understand your concern. I have it as well. This will be vetted through the IT governance group. It'll also go through department heads and then come back to council. So council's going to, before a dollar is spent, certainly council will get to look at inside and out and make sure that it meets not only payroll legislative requirements, but also our HR staff. Jen has a list of things that it must do for her as well. So we're excited that we would take some of the applications and net it out. So that'll be a not a cost savings, but it'll be a net cost actually, because there won't be the annual for what we're doing right now in payroll plus HR and some of the other ones as well.
Thank you, Fran. Matt, did that answer your question, or do you have a supplemental?
No supplemental. That's just basically wanted to see that we've beaten the bushes we needed to in order to vet out the one that we just bought 3 years ago. And as this one has the opportunity to go forward and possibly be better, it's sort of an unfortunate circumstance because it is, at the end of the day, it is still relatively new at only 3 years old. But if we need another one, we need another one. I said I totally understand that. So nothing else.
If I might, I feel we've juiced the benefit of the cost of the software itself. The one thing that's hard to get back, though, is all the staff time spent to implement it. So that's where the real cost to me is. But through that, I think we've learned a lot, and we know much more what it is that we want to be able to have in a package. So it's not been wasted. It's just been a learning curve that has costed a bit with that staff time for sure.
Very good. Thanks, Fran. Mayor Kasenberg.
Thanks, Dave. Actually, same subject matter. Just want to sort of test an assumption here. You are proposing a spend of up to $200,000 for that software package. I am assuming, though, that you are thinking about purchasing a cloud-based or acquiring a cloud-based solution, which would have a subscription model. So do you have any sense of what the impacts of a subscription model might be on both operating budgets and maybe even future capital budgets moving down the road?
We would have to vet that out for sure, and those things all have to be taken into consideration through the evaluation process. So there's cloud-based, there's the risk. It's our most sensitive information probably that we have within our database in terms of employee private, council private information. So therefore, we do want to look at that closely. It's a cloud application right now. One thing I have found, though, is that in the cloud, you have less leverage with regard to your demands that you're making. And we have been sort of, you don't pay the bill because you're not happy. we'll just not let you access your payroll. So that's not good business either. So I think we'll have to look at all of this in total and make sure that our agreements have the right clauses that to make sure, and I mean, they do today as well. It's just that it does make it in the short term a bit touch and go, and I'm not that comfortable with that sometimes, but any package that we'll look at, there'll also always be a pros and cons list, whether it's in-house, in the cloud, a service, or whatever other avenue might be out there for us to complete our payroll.
Thank you, Fran. Mayor Kasenberg, anything else on that? Thank you. Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks very much, Dave. Two questions, if I might. I'll stick with the first one because we're still on the same issue. Fran, we had talked specifically before. I had raised the point. We had talked about looking at all different options. Have we actually looked at the the business case of in-house versus retaining outside payroll to service to facilitate our payroll for our municipality?
Yes, this will be part of our evaluation process, and we're going to outline our criteria with the RFP so that our vendors are aware of how we're going to be looking at these applications. And I see it as two streams. We'll take the stream where it's a service over here, and we'll pick the best service. We'll take a stream over here. This is the best in-house application, whether it's data stored locally or in the cloud. And then we'll take those two and probably bring them to council and say, here's two options for you. And we recommend this, but you might consider this as well. Because some of them have some short-term costs with long-term gains and vice versa. So definitely things for staff and council to consider as we vet through those. Those are the proposals that we hope to be receiving.
Thank you, Fran. Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor.
Yes. So the second question.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The second question was specific to the next point was on the IT building. One of the critical issues we've talked about is redundancy and the issues of disaster resilience and so on. Any building plan would have to incorporate that. Is that part of the process here, Fran?
To be quite frank, Councillor Rothwell and members of council, that has to be looked at in terms of needs of who is going to be in the building. But certainly if we're putting our IT equipment in there, we'd want to have taken into account all risk management, make sure that it's nice and solid and secure and meets some of the weather related, whether it has to be bomb proof or not, I don't know that. I'd have to ask my building department what exactly they would require for that sort of thing. I understand the storage that is there for the water service is probably not, it's more space on their part. And ours is more the right environment and security.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. Up next, we have the nearly retired Councillor Andreessen.
Thank you, Dave. This question is just perhaps getting some clarification. I understood that in terms of IT, we were going to need to do some additional beefing up of our security in terms of maintaining our data, especially with, possible risks with, cyber attacks. And I didn't know if that was, I'm not seeing it in the budget. and unless it's in the operating budget, and perhaps we could get some clarification on that. Thank you.
Initially, Councillor Andreessen, we did look at it as a project, and we did that 2 years ago. We had a penetration test, and we saw where we had some holes to fill. Having said that, we actually let them in. They didn't get in on their own. We let them in, and then they poked around and found out where our holes was. Where we haven't gone back and said, okay, try and get in and see where our holes are. So we really feel that we have some security there, and we will be following through with that as part of our operations. That needs to be something that's in our operations. As you just have stressed a couple of times, it has to be ongoing. And we can't let our guard down. It has to be continuous that we check out our security. And Eric does a number of small tests, but to me, it's really great when because he knows what he did, right? It's like knowing the answer to the question. But having that third party come in and actually see if they can break into me is the test. So we've been working hard at making sure that we have our firewalls in place and some redundancy with that regard as well.
And I think, Fran, knowing that it's going to be occurring every year, we need to keep up on this, that it should be carried in operating.
Yes.
Any
You'll see that there.
Yep. Any other questions for Fran? Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Fran. And now moving on to item 4.5, Recreation Department. Amy Gangle, our interim manager of recreation. Amy, you're up.
Thanks, Dave, and other members of council. The Recreation Department has been working hard on our capital projects despite the hiccups that we've been experiencing over this COVID period. You'll note we have 7 projects identified to be completed by the end of 2020. So this includes the Steve Kerr Memorial Complex Stationary Generator, Confederation Park Playground, Facility Park Trail Signage, the Steve Kerr Memorial Complex FF&E and Spin Right Field Park Project, ball field improvements, aquatic facility audits, and the Atwood Cenotaph refurbishment phase 1 of that project. Looking into the detailed projects, diving a little bit more into some of our carryover projects. So the Memorial Park fence has been a carryover. There are plans to perform this work internally per council's direction. Unfortunately, this year that we've had, due to other priority projects within the municipality and insufficient resources to complete all the projects within this year, we're not able to do that. We were hoping to be working with the high school to perform this project, but due to the pandemic, there have been delays on that as well. So at the moment, staff sought some quotes from some external sources to perform this work for us in order to get this project completed. And so we anticipate having that project completed by spring of 2021. The second carryover project is the Lister Memorial demolition and redevelopment. We provided highlights at Monday's council meeting with regards to this update. And so this project is proceeding. We are just completing the paperwork, and then we will be working with the company on setting up a more firm schedule that we can share with council when that gets developed. At the same time, we're also working with consultants, with landscape consultants on the plans for the redevelopment of this property. And a reminder for council, if you have some input, feel free to email me your ideas and suggestions, and we'll forward those to the consultants. The South John Bell Ball Light Tower replacements, the tender has been opened, and it opened last week, and it will be closing on December 11th. of this year. So we will share that information once we have that information confirmed. Regarding our trail development and maintenance, this is, as you noticed during this period of time, our pre-COVID, our trails get used quite often. At this time of the pandemic, our trails have been an essential key part of our municipality. Plenty of areas being used by our citizens and individuals. So it's been great that we've been able to provide some attention to them, providing some development and maintenance. So our focus was developing further the Atwood to Henfrin section, as well as the Moncton section of the G to G trail, as well as the Moncton natural walkways. They were all completed this year. Our 2021 focus and things to finish up is the development of the Listowel to Gownstown trail connection. Regarding the Robert Mathers Park enhancements, very similar. Our plans to build a gazebo were delayed due to other priority projects within the municipality. There's an insufficient internal resources. We also, during the pandemic period, there's limited available materials to complete this project within this year's timeline. We are on that list to be able to obtain the materials as soon as we possibly can and complete this project. Our goal is by spring of 2021. Regarding the EMCC refurbishment renovation project, we submitted a grant application in November last year for the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, the Community Culture and Recreation stream. Unfortunately, in August, the municipality was notified that we were not nominated for the federal review of that project. So our next steps in 2021 is, in partnership with the North Perth Public Library, is to refine the design using our community feedback, seeking that feedback from our public and consultation, and then begin some fundraising campaigns, continuing to seek for grants where we can. The supply and delivery of the 2 new ice resurfacers that council had approved in October have been ordered and for purchase and delivery in 2021. Those are the carryover projects. On behalf of the Recreation Department, the following are some, we're submitting these proposed projects for council's consideration for 2021 as new projects. Phase 2 portion of the Atwood Cenotaph refurbishment. So we've spent quite a bit of time working back and forth with Veteran Affairs of Canada, doing research, getting information, sharing contacts. They've reevaluated our project and they recommend that efforts be made to preserve as much of the wall as possible, considering the unique features of this cenotaph. They also support making it accessible to the public. We have consulted with the Perth County Accessibility Committee and have provided input and recommendations for this project. The Atwood Cenotaph Refurbishment Group was appointed in September and we met on site in October to discuss some of those ideas and concepts. So phase 1 has been completed. This project detail you see before you is for phase 2. There is identified as the phase 3. This is the refurbishing and rebuilding of the existing wall and foundation, something for future consideration. We have received some initial quotes, but they are much higher than we anticipated, and we don't have sufficient funds to be able to offset that currently. The Veterans Affairs of Canada has advised us that once the 3-year period lapses on August 21st of next year, we could potentially reapply for an additional $25,000 from the program to support phase 3 of this project. So that's something that we will be aware of and we'll just monitor as we go along. According to our asset management plan, We have some recreation, some fleet and equipment items that are in very poor condition and scheduled for replacement. The total estimate for all of these is $70,000. We went on the high estimate, just anticipating being on that cautious side, but we will try to keep below that, as low as we possibly can as we pursue these. The grass trimmers, this is a complete overhaul of all of our grass trimmers. They're all fall within the same schedule of our asset management planning, fitting them all together rather than purchasing individuals as we go along. Next project is the Elma Logan and Wallace Arena Light Retrofit Program. On November 23rd, we just received notice that we were pre-approved for these 2 rebates. So just to confirm that, update that from the report. We have submitted this primarily because of the note that you see in here. It says, so current Save on Energy program will end December 31st of 2020. The deadline laid out by Save on Energy rebate pre-approval must be given prior to December 2020, and the retrofit must be completed by December 2021. So we as staff felt important to submit that because we knew that we had a chance of receiving this rebate. Now, we have been advised that there's ministerial directive to implement a new conservation and demand management framework launching the week of January 4th, 2021. So if we do not proceed with this project, we would resubmit an application under this new framework for future consideration. The one note that we've been told is that this new framework will target those who need it the most. They've identified that as commercial, industrial, institutional, on-reserve First Nations, and income eligible consumers. At this point, this is the only detail that we have, and so it's unknown whether a municipality would be applicable to it. It could be, we're just not sure yet with the information that we have. Regarding the universal washroom for the outdoor rink, universal washroom is a single washroom that's accessible to all, the definition of that. So to complete the outdoor rink project in Atwood, a universal washroom should be added to the site. Currently, we have a temporary solution in using the outdoor washrooms of EMCC until the project is completed. There are no outdoor universal washrooms in North Perth. So adding this facility will help the municipality provide more accessible amenities to the public. This outdoor washroom will be designed to be open all year round. Outdoor recreational opportunities have physical and mental benefits. Investing in our outdoor recreation infrastructure only benefits our community during this, especially during this pandemic time, but also in our future. Some to note is we are willing to work with the Atwood Lions Club to have shared responsibilities of this project. Project 12 is the aquatic facility drawings. Per Parks and Recreation Master Plan recommendation, it was recommended that facility audits be completed. So that was completed this year. The report is just in the final processes, and we anticipate putting this in the council package for December 7th. So council to receive and give them a little bit more information so that they can provide further direction moving forward. We've identified 3 options of drawings from conceptual all the way up to construction designs as options for that. The budget that is in this report, as you note, is for the conceptual designs. Project 13 is the Listwell partial dam removal. Work that was completed in 2020 includes hydraulic analysis of the river, tender drawings and specifications for the partial dam removal. We submitted applications to the Eco Action Grant as well as the Stratford Perth Community Foundation funding, and we applied for the appropriate permits. Well, unfortunately, we didn't receive the application for the Eco Action Grant or Stratford Perth Community Foundation. We will resubmit to Stratford Perth as well as the Perth Stewardship, although we anticipate that these funds will be low. The Memorial Park Rehabilitation Committee met on September 16th, 2020 to discuss the next steps. The committee made the motion to request $100,000 from the North Perth Council to proceed with the partial dam removal at Memorial Park as a capital project for 2021. This project does meet with the recommendations from the Listowel Greenway Master Plan. It's one of the final reports or final steps of completion of the Memorial Park rehabilitation. Final project is the EMCC HVAC system. The current HVAC system has undergone several repairs over the past few years, and the system is in need of replacement. It was anticipated that the replacement would become part of the renovation refurbishment project under the ICIP grant, but since we did not get approval for that grant, we need to proceed with replacement of one of our furnace AC units for this coming year. The system can be transferred to a new renovated building when that time comes. Depending on the timeline for refurbishment, we have budgeted in our 2022 for replacement of the second furnace AC unit if that was deemed needed. And that is it. Thank you very much for listening, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you, Amy. Do we have any questions on any of those projects? Looks like Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks, Chair Dave, and thanks, Amy, for the overview of your report. I want to just draw attention to the Alma, Logan, and Wallace Arena lighting. We had some preliminary conversation at our pre-budget meeting about this. I just want to pick up, Amy, in terms of the timing of the this rebate program, and what would council need to do if it agreed to have sort of pre-budget approval of this item. Whenever I see something that is looking at a payback period of well, in the one case, just 6.8 years and 4-year payback on the other, I think it would behoove us to look at that, and especially in note of our carbon footprint initiative, as well as our other environmental project regarding climate change. So I'm at the hands of council in terms of how we, if there's others on council that would be interested in seeing this project move forward for any pre-approval budget, if we need to take advantage of the situation of the Save On Energy program. Thank you, Amy. If you could add any further details.
Certainly, thank you. I will refresh your memory. This is very similar to the retrofit program that we did with the administrative building. So this was a 2019 project, and we received pre-approval, and council's commitment is with regards to their percentage or the payment of the additional part of the project, and that funding is outlined in this project detail. We would then tender the project out and have that project completed by the end of December of next year in order to be applicable for these funds.
Thank you.
Councillor Richardson.
Thanks, Dave, and thanks, Amy, for the good report. I would also like to bring council's attention to the partial dam removal. I do understand that, but just in case the report wasn't necessarily looked at, I do understand that this one is on the ranking chart that was really originally put out, that it does rank a little lower. However, this is one of the final steps for the complete park rehabilitation thing. My goodness, excuse me. And there has been permits that have been approved by the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, and we have a narrow window in order to actually complete this. And I do understand the concern with monies at this point in time for this particular budget, but as any budget like this that involves any amount of construction, whether you're either building it or removing it, costs will go up from year to year to year to year, which will require an awful lot more staff time for applying for different permits. We've got a permit that's currently been issued by the DFO, And then we've got the Ministry of Natural Resources. We have permits that are pending for that. We have been approved for one. It's just pending this application. So I do put that in the hands of council for consideration, that it is one of those items that it could be an easy nix, but I would feel that it's important to go forward with that, because in the future years it's just going to be cost more and more and more, and it would be nice to put that full rehabilitation project to bed. So that's all I have to say. Just a comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Richardson, and it's a point very well taken that and on that project for sure, it would be nice to actually get it more towards completion of the rehab of that park. Councillor Behrens.
Thank you, Chair Dave, and thank you, Amy. Very extensive report. I just wanted to make a little bit of comment about the aquatic facility. And I know that, and we know that next year is going to be a difficult year. I have no problem investigating the project. I just think that the timelines that were presented in the sheet are too aggressive. Since we haven't even seen the report yet, I'm concerned that we're proposing something. I mean, Amy, you know, because you've worked with all of the master recreation plan, that, you know, there's always a fundraising component to it and all of those things. It's going to be an extensive project. And you know as well as I do how long it took to get the Steve Kerr Memorial Complex there. I just think that this plan, in my own personal opinion, is a little aggressive because it's not even on the weighted capital project sheet. So I'm not debating the project. I'm just making a comment about the aggressiveness of the project, and perhaps further conversation can be had at a later date at a budget meeting regarding it. Even if, you know, we know how well the pools did this year. We have been told that, you know, this pandemic is going to last till the end of 2021. I think we have a little bit of time to just do our homework exceptionally well. That's my comment. Thanks, Amy.
Very good. Thanks, Councillor Behrens. Any other questions for Amy? I would like to go back to Councillor Rothwell's question about the lighting and the chance that we have to get some rebates and qualify for some money back on those projects. Do we need to look at pre-approval of a project like that tonight, or Amy, can that wait till our December the 9th meeting of council?
I will follow up and provide a response for the December budget meeting for you, just to clarify. But my understanding is the pre-approval is with regards to the Save on Energy application, and we have received pre-approval by both of them. So I will double check with that company, but I think that fits in already. That if we have been pre-approved, then that process will be okay. If council agrees to move forward with that, then we would move as quick as we can with the tender process, so that we can get we would have to get the project done by next year. So certainly a timely thing if we can get it sooner than later. But as regarding the pre-approval, I believe it's under this Save on Energy application, but I will provide clarification for the next meeting.
Okay, so as long as we're pre-approved at that, then we don't need to move ahead with the project pre-approval. We can just keep it in this budget, and knowing that we have to get the project finished in 2021 by the end of 2021. Yep.
That's my understanding, but I will double check to be on the safe side.
Awesome, thank you. And then we meet again on December the 9th. So if you can have something ready by then, that would be awesome. Any other questions for Amy? Pat, I'm not seeing any. So thank you very much to all those staff that presented their projects to us tonight and their overview of the projects that did or did not get finished through the current pandemic, and for all your insight and the projects that we are looked at tonight that may move ahead in 2021. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to item number 5, council direction. And I believe, as far as I'm concerned, is there any direction anybody needs at this point? We're through 4 of the departments. We've got 4 more to go in 2 weeks. So I would like to know, is there anybody out there that has any specific direction that they would like to see us present back to staff at this point, or if they're happy the way things are going at this point? Councillor Andreessen.
Thank you, Dave. I just wondered if you could clarify just the process. Of course, we have more preparations. Great. More coming. They're dedicated to debate. Just wondering, you know, what that process would look like. Thanks.
Sorry, Leanne, I missed a little bit in the middle. It sounded like you were sitting in Britain, where my bad internet is sometimes. Could you just give me that question again, please? Sorry.
Sure. Sorry. Yes. So we're going to get 4 more presentations about budget coming up on capital, which is great. And will there be a meeting with budget dedicated for council to just debate? Because we're taking the information in at this time, but just want to have clarification around the process as we provide feedback and have some debate. Thanks.
So the way we currently, what we set up in the proposed budget in what council adopted in our budget process for this year was that the 3rd meeting, which is coming up on December the 9th, we would hear from the other 4 department heads, which is roads, fire, library, and environmental services. I was sorry, I couldn't come up with Mark's title there. And then we will have seen them all. We can start on some debate of the projects then and some of the ranking. Our 4th meeting, which will be in January, we will be going over the operating budget, and then we will be looking. The council will be providing staff with opportunities at that point for amendments to the operating, and then right now our 5th meeting would be consideration of amendments to the original presentations and the resulting impacts. So I look more, Leanne, at after our 3rd meeting, we would have a chance to kind of go through all of the capital projects and debate the ranking of them all and where we see the dollar figure landing on those projects at this time. Does that answer your question enough?
Yes, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else with any direction to staff at this point, as we're only halfway through the capital projects, but of the ones we've seen, anybody else with any direction? I would like to thank the department heads that we heard from tonight for their passion for their projects and their departments, and for their great presentations and the amount of thought and planning that have got into these capital projects. And thank you for that. And it looks like an exciting upcoming year if we can carry on with a lot of these projects and keep COVID at bay. Thank you very much. Moving on now to item number 6. Is there anyone with any announcements? Not seeing anything. Pat, are you in the chat function? No. Okay, we do not have a closed session, I don't believe. So we are going to move on to the item number 7, the confirmatory bylaw. And we do have a couple that will be sitting this one out. So I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. Be it resolved that bylaw number 164, 2020 being a bylaw to confirm generally previous actions of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time and be finally passed, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Could I ask Councillor Rothwell to move this?
I so move.
And Councillor Seiler, would you second it?
Yes, I'll second that. Thank you.
If anyone is opposed, please say so in the chat function. Seeing nothing in the chat function, we will take that as passed. And moving on to the one that is everyone's favorite, I'd be looking for a mover and a seconder that the council meeting adjourns to meet again for general council business on Monday, December 7th. Could I get Mayor Kasenberg to move that?
Yes, so moved.
Thank you. And Councillor Andreessen.
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you very much. And all in favor, anyone opposed, please say so in the chat function. Seeing none, that is approved. That is passed. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much to staff and council for your time and decorum. And we will see you again on December the 9th. And I'm sure Leanne will have treats for us since she's retired by then. Thank you, everyone.